Welcome back into the Pig Trail Show. Evan Kamiko alongside Kevin McPherson in this week's Hog Hoops Report. Kevin, let's jump right into it. We'll talk about the loss against Bama yesterday in a little bit, but let's start with what's pressing this week. It's the SEC tournament in Nashville. The Hogs are the 12 seed, if I am correct, and they play Vanderbilt, the 13 seed, on Wednesday at 6 p.m. in Nashville. So the overarching question is, Arkansas clearly needs to win this tournament to make the big dance. Is that even possible?
Well, it's mathematically possible, but there are some realities that played out in a 31 game regular season that tell us, pretty much inform us. This is kind of one of those Lloyd Christmas and Dumb and Dumber 1 in a million chances. So you're saying there's a chance about 1 in a million. So look, Arkansas only strung together one 2 game winning streak in the entirety of an 18 game SEC schedule. Even in non conference, Arkansas was able to do no better than a 3 game winning streak twice against mid-major opponents both times. So to think Arkansas has shown any path to being the kind of team that can win 5 games in 5 days, let alone the fact that since it's been in that kind of format in the SEC, no team's been able to do it. Only once in 33 years in the league has Arkansas ever won an SEC tournament. That was in 99, 2000. That team also was not going to dance. Won 4 games in 4 days. That was the format back then. And so that team did make punch its ticket and quickly got bounced out of that tournament pretty quickly once it made it, but it did get in. So there is some history that Arkansas has done something similar. The difference is you have to win an extra game this time around, 5 in 5 days. And this Arkansas team, I know people are looking at this evidence saying Arkansas is playing better of late. And we're going to talk about Bama, but here are the facts. Arkansas has lost 3 of its last 4 games. Arkansas is 0-7 against the top half of the league, teams that have winning league records. And that's by a average double-digit margin of losses. Now, they were closer in their last 2 games against winning teams in the league with winning records. When you look at Kentucky on the road a few games ago, 3 games ago, and then Alabama yesterday, but closer. This isn't hand grenades. It's not horseshoes. You get nothing for that but a big fat L. And the next loss, it's the end of the season. So Arkansas is playing a little bit better, but after that 1-6 start, just 5-6. And let's not forget, on their home court, the Razorbacks lost to this Vanderbilt team not even 2 weeks ago. It's a Vanderbilt team, when you look at the Commodores' last 4 games, 2-2. So it's a team that only finished with 4 league wins. Arkansas finished with 6, but 2-2 in their last 4. Arkansas's 1-3 in its last 4, with one of those losses being at home to Vanderbilt. Arkansas hasn't beaten a Vanderbilt team in over 4 seasons ago. You have to go back to Musselman's second team. 0-3 since then. So, I mean, there's multiple ways to look at the positives of this. Arkansas is playing a little bit better, but based on body of work this season and even that matchup with Vanderbilt, I don't go into it even giving Arkansas a nod that maybe the Razorbacks will even win the first game. I'm not saying they can't. They certainly could, but I wouldn't go in there making any predictions for the Razorbacks right now based on a 15-16 season, which was 6-12 in the SEC.
Not to mention, if they do beat Vanderbilt, you eventually could play Tennessee, but before that, you'll play South Carolina, then Auburn in that quarterfinals before Tennessee potentially in the semifinals. So the road ahead for Arkansas, if they do want to pull this off, it's daunting to say the least. They need, it's kind of goes back to the whole "Do you believe in miracles?" saying from Bob Costas many moves ago. Actually, Al Michaels, not Bob Costas. Excuse me.
That's right. It was Al Michaels.
Yeah. Yeah,
the 1980 Olympics.
We're pulling out all the stops here because Arkansas needs a miracle for this to happen, for them to go dancing. I think it's not understated that's a very known thing. But let's talk Bama now. Let's look at that game. What was kind of your biggest takeaway from this overtime loss? There was a Mekhi Mitchell missed call at the end of the game that should have won the game for Arkansas, but it didn't. At the end of the day, Bama just too good at the end and able to barely pull away.
Great start for Arkansas. I love the attention to getting to the rim and really attacking. And Arkansas jumped out to a 15-point lead. Bama at home, a good team, was going to find a way to get back into that game. And it's just, Arkansas teams under Eric Musselman, the good ones, have figured out ways to close close games. This team's not been able to do that. You go back to the Mississippi State game, Arkansas was up, I think, 2 points going to the final minute. A 6-0 run in the final minute for Mississippi State. You're on the road, you lose that game. This game, Bama closes strong, started hitting some 3-pointers finally. It saved their bacon. And Arkansas doesn't execute in the final minute of regulation. You mentioned the Mekhi Mitchell dunk. there was contact there, but you gotta finish that. You're a big man.
Mhm.
You've got strength around the basket. We know Makai can flush it. So you got to make sure you make that count and get your and one. So we can go back and forth on whether or not that cost Arkansas the game. But the fact is, this particular Razorback team does not close games well. I go back to it. If you're a good team, you beat good teams. And Arkansas is 0-7 against teams with winning records in the league. That didn't happen by accident or because of missed calls. And so, we can point to that. But Arkansas goes into the final, getting close to a minute left, and they're up 6. And Bama hits 2 threes in the final 101. And you mentioned that possession. That really did hurt Arkansas. Chances are, if they do whistle a foul there, Makai, he's been shooting the ball better at the free throw line. He did miss his first 2 free throws of the game, but made 4 in a row after that. Arkansas was really good in the second half, especially at the free throw line. So maybe there's just enough there to give Arkansas, keep them in a 2 possession, get it back to 2 possession. But you didn't get that call. That's why you got to make sure you finish plays.
And so overall now, with the regular season behind us, what is your kind of overall take? Obviously, a very, very, very disappointing season, and all of the questions that we have in our future are only going to come in time. Right now the team's focus is Nashville, but when you look at this season, what would be the grade? And obviously it's a pretty bad grade that you give them, but what's kind of your overall impressions of just the 2023-2024 season?
I mean, it's a fail. You came in to top 15 national rankings, projected in the top 3 in the SEC. You brought in a veteran group when you went to the portal, guys with a lot of college experience. You've got Eric Musselman, who, even though no matter how good you think your recruiting is, at some point each season there's been adversity. He's been able to tweak things and get it corrected and get Arkansas on a strong path moving through February and March. And none of that took place. You had off the court issues. You had players in and out. Uh, you know, not just in game, but out of missing games. A multitude of players, and then he was never able to get his rotations where he wanted them. And at the end of the season, kind of by default, he's gotten there. But it hasn't even equated to wins in games you need to win to call yourself a team that's really gotten better. Again, Arkansas after the 1-6 start, 5-6. I've got to give this an F. There's no way around it. There's no such thing as an F plus. So you don't get an F plus just because you're playing a little bit better at the end of the season. Honestly, Evan, Arkansas hasn't. They've got one quality, really a true quality win on the season. That was Duke back in November. So if that's enough to get you to a D minus or an F plus, that's for someone else to debate. You ask me what grade I give it an F.
Mm-hmm. Hey, pretty simple, pretty straightforward there, an F grade. Kevin, kind of looping back right now to Vanderbilt. We take a look at this team, and this was a game Arkansas that was down 12 plus, towards that 9-minute mark, and then they came back and, were able to fight back. Tremont Mark had that 3 look at the end of the game to potentially send it to overtime. He missed that. What do you see in this Vanderbilt team that potentially now, with the way the Hogs are playing, Makai Mitchell has played a lot better. Caleb Battle seems to finally find his footing. That gives you hope that Arkansas can get that first win against Tennessee. Excuse me, Tennessee. I keep saying Tennessee. Vanderbilt.
Right, because we're used to Arkansas being a better quality of team, and we're talking about those kind of matchups.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we're talking about why Arkansas can't. What can Arkansas do to dial up a winning formula against a team that finished 4-14 in the SEC? Actually, finished worse than Arkansas. Has a horrible net resume, net ranking, all of it. I mean, this is right now Arkansas is trying to scratch out a game plan to beat a team that you would think Arkansas could beat on its own court. Let's not forget, Tremont Mark had a 3-point shot to tie it at the end. Vanderbilt controlled most of that game and had a double-digit lead late. Arkansas clawed back, give them credit in the final few minutes. It was a furious, but just not enough clock to come all the way back. So to answer your question, I don't know what you do. I think the matchups in some regards have favored Vanderbilt. I don't know that I thought Arkansas was listless in that game, but they certainly didn't seem locked in the way Vanderbilt did. A team that both teams not going anywhere postseason. One team looked hungrier to me. So, again, Arkansas has been so enigmatic. I don't have a formula for what might or might not work, Evan. I don't. I mean, I think some of these individual players that look a little bit better right now, still as a team, Arkansas has too many lapses and stretches where they can't hold on and get it past that finish line first. And so you went 1-6 to start. You finished 5-6. 2 of those wins were against league winless Missouri. You lost to Vanderbilt. You beat Georgia, who's also got a Wednesday game. Finished one spot at the same record as Arkansas, 6-12, but had the tiebreaker. So you beat them by 3 at home. You beat LSU at home, also bottom half the league, and your saving grace, I guess, in league play, we're sweeping Texas A&M, a 9-9 team who's been on the wrong side of the bubble lately. So I'm not trying to come across as negative. I'm trying to be real about what this team is. But they don't just quit on the season right now and say, well, they're talking about how bad we've been. No, you still play, you still try to find ways to win. And technically it's a new season. And if there's any mental work going on there with Eric Musselman communicating his team, maybe it's to say the rest of it doesn't matter now. We control our own destiny. And if nothing else, 5 games in 5 days, you're talking about tired legs and things like that. He's played everybody this year. And I know the rotation's tightened up recently, but some of the legs should be a little fresher than they would be in other seasons where he's really stayed drilled down to that rotation. So you just never know. But I don't have a prediction for Arkansas to get off on the right foot, even in game one, just because of the stuff we just talked about.
Absolutely. Kevin, anything else before we go?
Not really. Transfer portal, I'll just talk about it. That's about to heat up. One player that just put his paperwork in is an Arkansas native, Bryant native, took an unofficial visit to Arkansas last year from UCA, a transfer from Central Arkansas University, a Division I school, took an unofficial visit last year when he jumped the portal, ended up committing to Butler, backed away from that, went back to UCA, got injured in October before the season started, but he didn't play this year. 2 more years of eligibility. He's going back in the portal. He's from, like I said, Bryan, Arkansas. Cameron Hunter, a 6'3" point guard, 2-time Atlantic Sun, A-Sun, all-conference performer as a freshman and sophomore. He has interest in Arkansas again. We'll see if the Razorback coaches circle back to him this time around, but he did take an unofficial visit in March of last year. So that's a little bit of news. I did have an article about that, both on KNWA Pig Trail Nation and over at Hogville.
Absolutely. Well, Kevin, as always, we thank you for your time. That's going to do it for this Hog Hoops Report with Kevin McPherson. Arkansas and Vanderbilt take action on the court, 6 p.m. on Wednesday. That's going to do it for us right now. More Pig Trail Show coming up after the break.